Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Gal is here.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Spence is a little bit on the sick side, so he's not going to be here with us today. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. And we're up. Yep, everything's fine. So what's going on?
Well, you heard me complaining the past couple of weeks about how I wanted to love my Linux experience, but I can't. And so after the show last week, I grabbed the USB that I already prepared for another computer that had Windows on it. I thought it was even Windows 10, thinking Windows 11 won't install on this machine due to its age. Apparently, Windows 11 installed without a problem. The process was literally painless, and I am really disappointed that it was without problem.
How long did it take?
The regular installation.
Okay.
I mean, 10, 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. After that, just installed. I mean, I already knew pretty much what I need to install because I've been using Windows for the entirety of the time before. So just installed the software. I usually install, the first thing I install is a set of PowerShell script that I have and Scoop or Shovel, which is a fork of it. It doesn't really matter. I have pre-built scripts to already start it up in a machine. So it takes me about, 10 minutes to get the system with the basic apps that I needed. I'm already licensed for Office and stuff like that from my work account. So logging in and just installing that is a very quick process. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it was this easy is really annoying to me. I really wanted Linux and free software. I wanted a free software-based environment. Not fanatically free software. I'm okay with proprietary software running, but I really wanted to be in complete control as much as I can of the system. But especially when it comes to audio and video, Linux is way behind. And while I probably did solve most of my issues, I didn't want to continue in battling those issues. The main reason I wanted to use a Linux machine, I talked about it in the past, was running ZFS as a file system. Ubuntu allows that out of the box, and that part worked fantastically well. But the rest of the system wasn't stable enough. I mean, I literally haven't rebooted so much with Windows in the past 6 years, right? That I have this specific machine as I've did in the past month with Linux. So, and I'm talking about rebooting because the system just hang. Um, Now, will I try this again? Probably yes. I already got a machine. It's running next to the Windows machine, this machine. Uh, and I'm going to try and use that machine with Linux as my daily driver and only KVM to this one when I can't do or when it breaks. So I'm still going to try running Linux. Already installed Proxmox on it, which is Debian. Proxmox also comes with ZFS built in. Uh, Proxmox is not a standard OS. Is not a regular fork. It's a VM distribution. It's a hypervisor distribution for managing VMs. And my plan already installed a graphical interface on it, an X server based graphical interface on it called XFCE, which allows using the machine just like a Windows machine, very, very similar. The idea is to run on it Linux distributions that I'm going to try. The nice thing about a KVM based, that's the Linux kernel VM based hypervisor, is this is one of the closest to bare metal hypervisor there are out there. So Linux is also uh, uh, the leading technology when it comes to VMs and running them most efficient. So I'm going to use that to try out a lot of distributions across along the time. Each time committing myself, for a complete month at least, for a distribution that I like, that I want to test, and see if I can get any other results. Working through it and seeing if it's going to fail the same way that my experience with the Zorin Ubuntu-based distribution was. And maybe it was just because I chose the wrong distribution for me. And that's what I'm going to look. The next one I'm going to look at is Pop OS. That is the one getting the most enthusiasm from the YouTube slash Reddit community of Linux users right now. It does not have baked in ZFS support. It is based on Ubuntu. So it's possible, it's just not easy. So I'll start without ZFS. The nice thing about Proxmox is based on ZFS, so I will be able to do ZFS snapshots of the VMs that are running over it. So I am also going to experiment running Windows in a VM there. So I will have Windows running on a ZFS file system and have the snapshot capabilities like that just from outside the OS. So that's going to be interesting as well. So I'm not done with the experiment, but I needed a working, stable machine for day-to-day work and from doing the show and all that. And now I have that option back. And we'll switch back to I'll get to play on it just on a different machine, on a separate machine. So that's it.
That's a shame.
Reporting from the field.
What'd you say, Nick?
That's a shame that it
it's
that it ended like that. Because and again, I've made this point before. Gal, if you found it to be painful, that means that the average everyday user is going to be incapable of running.
I completely agree. But here's what I can say. Okay, if I spoke about this with a colleague of mine, another colleague, a friend who works in IT, and he works on like an exclusively Linux environment,
Hmm.
and he also sets up environments for other, and his experience is that there are certain tools, especially that do not come from the free software world, that just don't work well in Linux yet. And one of those, for example, is Zoom that we use, right? Uh, and most of my issues were around using Zoom. Uh, so it could be that it's just bad luck for me. It's just bad timing, and Zoom isn't cultivating the Linux users' uh, needs in the best way. So
Now, let me
it
ask you
could
this
be
though.
that it's just that.
Hold on a second though. How, I know this is not the proper question. How Zoom on Android works really well, which I know Android is not Linux, but it's a very close cousin to Linux. I'm
Well,
surprised that it
it's
works so
different.
well on Android, but on the Linux side, it's just not. But there's that many problems. I mean, the Zoom mobile app on iOS and Android is phenomenal. I'm surprised it was so poor on a Linux based desktop.
Well, the
But you know
translation
something? Wait, let me
isn't
inject something
parallel.
here. Wait, are you
Yeah.
sure it is Zoom that is not working right, or is it
Oh yes, I'm
or
not the only one having those issues.
oh, okay? I thought it had something
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
with
No, no,
integrating
no,
it with
no.
the
Yeah,
show.
I'm definitely not the only one having
Okay.
those issues. So as to the similarities to other Linux Unix based OSs, so Android isn't really Linux. Android is Linux taken on, built on a layer of Java
Mhm.
that manages the OS. And so applications, APKs are basically Java for a specific OS, right? And yes, on the Android, it works excellent. On the Mac, it works pretty well. By the way, if you look at remote control software and stuff like that, they almost always work flawlessly on Windows, but they are sketchy at best on Macs, because even the Mac crowd, right? They're very limited when it comes to a certain aspect. So video conferencing will work, but the rest will be flaky. And that's probably what I'm hitting right now. It's just Linux users are not that important in the enterprise world.
Mhm.
And they're not getting the attention and love that mobile apps are getting, that Windows apps are getting. Uh, and that's the situation. I mean, it's not. I don't like it. I hate it. I would really loved to have kept on just using that, and that's what I'm going to try. But I know it's not a okay. Let's install this. This is the right one for me, and I can get the entire package that I want. So that's just it. I mean, it's just a bummer at this point.
So,
I
if
hope
I
to report
can,
differently in a couple of, in a month or so, and say, hey, I found something that might work. But,
can I turn the conversation back to what you were talking about with Windows 11 and how that process worked and went through?
Sure, you can.
yeah, it was annoyingly simple.
Mm.
Like, there are, I'm trying to think of, there are a lot of caveats that I didn't, that I'm just used to looking for them. So I know how not to fall into them. But, uh, a Windows installation, right? It basically, when you're installing it, you're signing your soul to Microsoft. I'm guessing it's exactly the same with Mac OS today, right? And it's probably exactly the same with a Chromebook. The amount of and I know for sure it is exactly the same with an Android machine, right? Any Android phone or machine you're installing. The first thing you do is they try to hook you up to uh, as many identifying hooks they can and allow them to retrieve the information whenever they want. And so you need to make sure that you're if that's important to you, and I hope it is, right, that you pay attention and don't forget any checkbox unchecked, and make changes based on uh, recommendations out there for privacy. So there's that, which, I mean, up until Windows XP, we never thought of, right? Started with Windows XP and activation, and it continues today with not only activation but also with telemetry and tracking and ad tracking and stuff. Now, I've said in the past, Microsoft Edge is an excellent Chrome clone, but since they issued Microsoft Edge, and it's still an excellent Chrome clone, don't get me wrong, functionality wise, right? But privacy wise, it's as bad as Google Chrome. And so when you're running it for the first time, or whenever you create a new profile, because even if you've set things for default profile in a certain way, once you create a new profile, you need to go through the process again. You need to make sure you uncheck a lot of checkboxes and go to the settings and remove a lot of stuff, right? If you want to keep your privacy as much as you can when using uh, Edge. Um, Obviously, I almost immediately I install Firefox. I actually install WaterFox, which is a fork uh, that I prefer. Um, it has some old school settings that are exposed that Firefox have done with, and so I use that. But it's pretty much the same. On Linux, I used Firefox. So most of my time I spend on that. I install the rest of the software. Since I'm using Scoop, the installation is pretty simple. It's basically script based. I just run the script and it installs everything that I need. One of the things I got used to, I mean, I've been raving about using a large screen for working and stuff. And one of the most important aspects of using a large screen is having a good Windows manager, something that allows you uh, to tile the windows properly, because you want to use the real estate in the most efficient way for you, and for everyone it works differently. Interestingly enough, Windows 11 comes with a pretty good tiling solution out of the box. Uh, if any of you have Windows 11 and haven't noticed it, it'll be a surprise, because the moment you put your cursor, you hover over the maximize button. You don't even touch anything. You just hover over the maximize button of a window. You get the snap layouts of how to arrange your windows. And for the uninitiated, that is fantastic. For me, I find it not enough. And I do have other solutions. One of them is Microsoft fancy toy Power Toys Fancy Zone, but there are others. And on Linux, this is like on Linux Windows environment. There are so many options that I've gotten used to a specific one that there isn't an equivalent for it on Windows. So I'm looking, I'm searching for solutions. I mean, I'm even toying with the idea of writing one, but I do know that writing one for my own will involve certain hardships that I don't know I have the time to deal with as of right now. Dealing with OS hookups, stuff that affect a lot of other applications and not just yours, uh, is really, it can be really frustrating at times. And so I'm not sure I want to go down that path. But there are some nice solutions, so I'm using those. Um, I mean, that's pretty much it. Uh,
Well, I mean, if you want to
I
get frustrated, probably, then there is something new out there.
what?
Uh,
Tell us about it, Amnon.
Google has announced a new version of Chrome OS called Chrome OS Flex, which is designed to run on old PCs and Macs. The operating system can be installed within minutes, according to Google's blog post. Google said that Chrome OS Flex will look and feel identical to Chrome OS on a Chromebook. It's built from the same code base and follows the same release cadence. Some features may be dependent on the hardware of the PCs you're using. In fact, it said that for every specific feature that the installer asked about, including always on Google Assistant and Android phone syncing. But if you're going to try this, keep an eye out. If you want to try out Chrome OS Flex yourself, you can learn more on the Chrome Enterprise website. Note that the OS is still in early access mode, so you may encounter some bugs. Hence, if you want frustration, there you go. You can boot it directly from a USB drive if you'd rather poke around before installing it on your.
I'm actually surprised it took them this long.
Well,
Chrome OS is, it has a Linux base, right? And it's running Chrome as the probably shell of the environment. One of the best things about Chrome OS in the past, couple of years, is it runs Android apps. So it actually has a really large catalog of very good, very well tested, very well formed applications out there, uh, because it's not just about web-based applications, but the entire mobile fleet of Android apps that are available. So you get the Play Store. So functionality wise, I mean, I get it. I get the availability of it. I'm surprised that it took this long. I think there were other projects like open source initiatives that tried to do that, but the fact that Google is doing it on their own, it's interesting. It's a good thing.
well,
I don't see it as a bad thing. One of the reasons I'm saying it's a good thing is if they are doing it, and because it's based on Linux as an operating system, so it's basically a new Linux distribution, right? That also means that the because of the nature of Linux being free software, GPL version 2, because of that nature of the code is going back to the free software community. And so it means that in probably no time, there's going to be another distribution, which will be, I don't know, instead of Chrome, it'll be, I don't know, Steel OS or something like that, right? And Aluminum OS. And it'll be like a free version of that. It's still going to run the Chrome or the Chrome clone browser based, but it'll probably be a lot more privacy oriented than a regular Chrome OS.
Alright.
So I think it's a good thing, because even though it is Google and we don't like their tactics, they are good software developers. Okay, they provide us with software solutions that I think most of us, right, uh, can't live without. I mean, unfortunately for me, I can't live without Gmail. Uh, Even Google search, which I don't like the tactics behind it, I use it. I just try to minimize my footprint in it. So they're here to stay. At least we'll get something out of it.
Yeah. All right. Two pieces of news involving North Carolina. The North Carolina Department of Public Instruction on last Monday issued a press release announcing it's going all in on Microsoft's idea of having kids learn to code by using Minecraft, and will be bringing a Minecraft-based CS curriculum to the state's 340,000 middle schoolers.
Okay.
So here comes games. I mean, I think Minecraft. I think games. I
Well,
don't know.
Minecraft isn't a game. Minecraft can be a game, and it can be so many other things.
Obviously,
To explain what I mean, before Microsoft bought Minecraft, when you launch an instance of Minecraft, you find yourself in a fantastic world, but you have zero idea what's going on, and you need to explore in that world. So that's Minecraft. The Minecraft as a piece of software is basically whatever you make out of it afterwards. And most of the people just play straight through it as a game. As they've read somewhere, they start utilizing the mechanics that it provides are very simple, right? You grab whatever material you can, and you combine these materials and you craft. Now, those as basics, right? I mean, if you take any good down to earth family, right? And you think about a father-son experience, this is what every father wants for the son, to see how something, right, becomes something else. And that's Minecraft. That's basically Minecraft. Now you throw in additional aspects of survival, right, of the elements.
Mhm.
So because it comes from a fantastical gaming concept, right? So the elements are these monsters that you will encounter. You don't encounter them at first at all in any substantial way. It takes time. You first need to get acclimated to the environment, and then you start to understand how you need to protect yourself.
Nick,
So it's
Nick,
Nick can talk about it a lot better than me.
Yeah, I remember in your younger days, Nick, you and Sean, you were playing Minecraft a lot, and because we were in a kind of like a hangout, and I would just watch them play it, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
So the reason we're talking about it is because it's becoming curriculum in North Carolina.
Yeah, and this is not anything new. And here's the thing: it's more than just Minecraft. The one thing that makes Minecraft, the base game, isn't all that exciting by itself. The default game is it's a sandbox. It's meant for you to go in and customize. Now, we say customize, we're not talking about just like building things. We're talking about physically customizing the game, and that's done with plugins. Those plugins are developed and built in Java, and it's not very complicated to make a I shouldn't say it's not very complicated. By the way, there's a mouse on the screen. It's not very complicated to make a Minecraft plugin. And it's a great way to learn how to program. And one of the big things I've always struggled with programming wise, and it's why I've never really picked it up, and I still really can't program to today, even today, is I struggle to I struggle to see the payoff for what I do. If I needed a piece of software and it would do a task, I could make it and I would be able to reap the benefits. At least for me, that's always been the struggle with programming. As stupid as that might sound. But with Minecraft, you can build a plugin that does a thing and see it directly in the game immediately. And I think for younger individuals, I think you mentioned middle school curriculum, Anton.
Yeah.
I think this is great because you can actually see and reap the benefit of what you've made. And that's just something I've always struggled with programming wise is I don't need anything. So I'm not just going to sit down and write a program for no reason. I don't have anything to do. And I assume I'm not alone in that thinking. And that's what the whole idea, I think, of the Minecraft curriculum is not just running around and killing monsters and building little houses, but developing plugins, developing add-ons, and actually, for lack of a better term, hacking the game to do cool things and actually say, hey, you wrote this, 72 lines of code, and this is what it does in game. Look how cool that is. Look at the real world application of it. So that's what my thought is on.
Interesting. So it taught you a certain way of thinking and a certain way of doing things.
Well, I think it can. Yeah. I mean, it didn't for me. Yeah. I just have not. I'm going to be honest. I just have not been super interested in programming. I've yet to find something that I've gone through.
Hold on. You haven't written a single script?
I've written some very remedial scripts, but a lot of that is coming from pulling things off of Stack Overflow. I don't know how to program. Here's the thing. I do know how to program. I understand syntax and everything like that. I don't do it regularly enough to have any sort of skill. I took some programming classes in college, did some Java stuff, and it was fine. I was able to do it. But as of right now, today, I struggle to find something that is worth my time to learn a language to do. That's just
completely fine.
Yeah.
That is completely fine and completely natural, right?
Yeah.
But to claim that you do not know how to program, right? That is where things are, I say, break apart, right? So I think the reason you can program, you did take those college courses. You do script from time to time. Hell, you create home automation. And you understand the process, and you understand the process of doing that. That is because, right, your gateway to that world was through something that you enjoyed.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that's the key.
Precisely.
We are back in the 80s, right? People were programming their VCR to record at a certain time. Yes, the entire software was already written for them, and they just followed some manual steps, but they needed to do something in order to tell a machine, right, to do something as they want. And that's programming. That's the simplest way of it, right? But I mean, the moment we launch two different pieces of software, right, and we just copy paste from them, we're already involved in some sort of manipulation. And programming, a programming mindset is just starting to understand that each step is a block that can be combined with other blocks, right? And just figuring out the best way to combine them. That's when programming starts to grow. Okay. So it's not only about exposing a piece of syntax out or doing like that. It's about getting the right mindset of if I can just get this happen after this in a certain condition, right? The moment you have that mindset, that is when you start reaping the benefits of programming. Now, it doesn't need to be complex. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It doesn't need to be for anybody else except your own. But I think learning that at a very early age, and I do agree, Minecraft has a a very luring quality in that aspect for young minds, because in zero effort, just by somebody launching the application for them for the first time, they start creating in a world that they have no limits to. The only limits is what they're willing to learn to do within it. And it's a lot easier to achieve something there than in the real world, where you need resources to start with, right? And there, the virtual world, the resources are just there. You just need to grab them. And so there is definitely a fulfillment, this experience of achieving something within Minecraft that comes very, very early on. There's also a lot of frustration, just like the real world. Things don't necessarily work out the way you want at first, right? And it's about gaining skills and understanding and retaining. The syntax in Minecraft is different than writing a software, because the syntax in Minecraft, and I'm not talking about the module, the modifying of Java to create modules and add-ons. I'm talking about the gameplay. It's different. It's about combining different materials and remembering the combination to create whatever you want to achieve. And so it has, I do think it has a really strong connection. And I guess that whoever goes through that curriculum, right, most of the people, they won't continue to any of the computer sciences. It's not about that at all. It's more about getting the literacy of understanding cause and effect, understanding combinations of actions, and understanding that how to combine them, right? How to create something from little blocks, small blocks, and making more of them. And when you do it in a virtual world, that's when it starts to be called programming. And I'm for that. I don't think it'll create a lot more computer literate people, because I don't think Minecraft is about computer literacy. But I do think that the mindset of automation, of creating building blocks in a digital environment, I think that's definitely part of that, and it's a good thing. For Microsoft, it's a great thing, because I'm guessing for them it's just a shitload of money, right? And that's what they're about the profit. So
all right,
it's not like as if it's coming from an altruistic.
Half hour of Minecraft is enough.
wait a second. Gene, hi.
What's that?
Yeah, hi. I got about three short items I'd like to bring up and share with you. Number one is I've been using Mozilla Firefox as my default browser for a long, long time. But all of a sudden, it didn't open. It would just sit there and spin and spin and spin. So I'd have to go to Edge or Chrome or something like that to basically use as a browser, even though it's not my default. And when I went there, I Googled the problem. And my goodness, I mean, there were all kinds of people having that problem. And there was all kinds of solutions, a lot of them very complicated. And I thought to myself, why should I go through all of this to get Mozilla Firefox working properly when I can just use Chrome as my default browser and forget about it? And so that's what I did. I was just wondering whether you've heard about this.
I mean, I don't know the reason of why you are having issues, but even with Chrome, I've had issues that are similar to that. And usually the solution is rather simple, a bit annoying, is to reset the profile, right? And you can do that with Firefox, and you can do that with Chrome. Why? I have zero idea of the whys. For me, it usually has to do with the complexity. I usually install like, I don't know, 40 different extensions, and I'm guessing not all of them are working well with one another. I have it in a rather stable state right now, so it has been a long time since it's happened to me. But I'm guessing that might be something to do with it.
I would
Other
say,
than that, it's probably a failed update. So
I would say that the first thing that comes to my mind why this happens is your cache. It's your homepage is trying to go somewhere where it is not getting there, and it just spins and spins and spins. So the first thing
Well,
I
I
tell
mean, it won't open. It's not. I'm trying to go someplace. The application doesn't open.
when you
It's
click
there
on so
when
you
click
see.
on it.
So wait a second. Are you talking about seeing the circle going and going in the middle of the screen, but Chrome doesn't open, or you double click it and
No.
nothing comes up?
Chrome is fine, by the way. I moved to Chrome, made it my default.
Yeah.
It's fast. It's good. Everything was imported over, perfect. So the hell with it. I'm staying with Chrome right now. But what I'm saying is, Firefox was not even opening up when you click on.
I'm guessing it's
when you
something to
click
do with
on
the
the
profile.
application,
Wait. I want to clarify this. When you try to open Firefox, what do you see?
it just
Nothing.
spins
He's
and
not seeing
spins
anything.
and spins.
And nothing happens, or do you see the thing
Nothing
trying
happens.
to? Nothing
Nothing
happen.
happens.
Okay. With nothing happens on the screen. In many cases, that means that Firefox is already open, and you're trying to open it again.
Yeah,
I tried
no, but
that.
he's not
I
talking about
basically
something
did
that happened
everything.
just
I went
today.
to Task Manager. I tried all that stuff. None of it worked. I went to
Okay.
Task
Okay.
Manager to make sure it wasn't open.
Well, it's
And then
very.
I said, why should I
Try-
go through all this trouble when Chrome was working fine? So the hell with it.
That's first of all, you're right. Second, if you are still wanting to try something, try running Firefox, the profile manager for Firefox. And the way you do that is either you can do it from the run, Windows R, and get the run dialog, or you can modify the shortcut and add dash profile manager as one without spaces, dash profile manager, and it should launch the profile manager. If it launches the profile manager, it usually means that there is some issue with the profile that it's trying to load, and that's why Firefox is failing. If it doesn't, then it probably has nothing to do with Firefox itself as much as some sort of DLL hell that you're experiencing on your machine, and Firefox is Firefox is the one suffering from it. I mean, have you tried uninstalling and reinstalling?
Yes.
Like a simple, and that's still. So I'm guessing it's the profile, because when you uninstall, the profile remains isn't being removed.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, see if you can launch
said,
the profile manager. If that suddenly helps, then at least you get a second option in case something's annoys you in Chrome, and you have a second option. That's just my recommendation.
Yeah, good thought. I'll keep that in mind.
And you did, and you did import all your passwords and bookmarks,
everything. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. Next,
Gene, Chrome
is very fast. I see that fast.
Firefox is fast as well.
Second item, talking about fast.
I would second that. I agree with you 100%, because on my monitor laptop here, I changed from Firefox to Chrome, and it is faster.
Yeah,
but that doesn't.
Okay.
Can
I get to the second item so we don't?
Wait a second, Gal, you were going to say something.
If you have access to the chat and I wrote the command line, you'll need to find where Firefox the complete path is. But once you run it with the dash profile manager, as I've written in the chat, then it should launch that option, and you can create a new profile and see if that's the issue.
Okay, I see it there.
All right,
Okay, second item. I live in Springdale Estates. It's a big subdivision, and they AT&T has been coming in to put fiber in.
Mhm.
AT&T fiber. They finally got it in, and what they did yesterday is they had at our main meeting places at the lake where we have benches and that kind of stuff, and so they set up a tent and all that kind of stuff, and we're serving snacks and drinks, and you could go over and see if you wanted to go to AT&T fiber. Everybody in the area, mostly everybody in the area, has Spectrum.
Mhm.
I had Spectrum. Spectrum, I was getting like 210 up and 11 point something down. So I go over there, and
It is a no-brainer.
yeah, I mean, and I'm
As
paying
long as it works.
$64.99
Yeah.
Spectrum. So I go over there, and they're coming Tuesday, and I'm going to get fiber 300 up, 300 down, for $55.
Actually,
deal.
when I switched, the 350 was 300 was 55. The 500 was 35. I mean, 45. Sorry. And I said, "What? You mean 500 is cheaper?" And he said, "Yeah."
No, oh yeah.
Okay,
right.
I'm just saying. But here is why it's no brainer. And Nick was right when he said as long as it works. If you go with AT&T, first of all, you don't need to sign any kind of contract.
Right.
And if after a few months you don't like it, you can always go back to Spectrum and get the new user rate, which is very, very low. But I also think that if AT&T went in there, next you're going to see Google go in there maybe. So you may have another option of Google Fiber being in there.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep my eyes open for that.
Yeah, but it's definitely it's cheaper than Spectrum, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and not only that, but I do have an AT&T account because I use DirecTV, and I got like 6 receivers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
good.
I'm a pretty big AT&T customer, so they're going to give me some sort of a break on that. They haven't told me yet.
And you're going to love the speed.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, last item.
Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
Okay. Last item, I just going to read you what came over to me as a message. As of February 18th, 2022, the price of the monthly Prime membership has increased from $12.99 to $14.99, and the price of the annual Prime membership has increased from $119 to $139.
Right.
The new prices, capital taxes, will apply after March 25th, 2022, on the date of your next renewal.
Right.
So Prime is going up, of course.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
There is one thing you might be able to do to delay this, but it requires paying in advance for at least a year or two. And the way it is there is Amazon, they sell a gift card that's called the Gift of Prime, where you can buy a year's worth of Prime subscription as a gift card and send it. You're getting a code, and then whoever uses that code can extend their or
membership,
create a new Prime membership using that code. And this way, you're paying the current rate before the price hike. So you can buy that and send it to yourself. And this way, you get you can only send a year at a time. So every time but there is nothing that it actually limits you in using multiple codes. And just know that the risk of these, they never expire, but they are not 100% of the time accepted when they are not accepted, you get a refund for that amount as an Amazon gift card. So the risk is not huge, but it does mean you need to have that money out of pocket right now.
What was your
Okay, that's that.
what, did you have a question about those rates, or you were just trying to let us know?
No, I just thought I'd mention it, and I'm glad I did. Gal gave me a pretty good idea on what to do. But yeah, that's all. I just wanted to bring it up.
I'll send in the chat a link to a Slick Deals thread where they discuss this. So people talk about their past successes with this, their because this is not the first time there's a price hike, and people were doing it before. Some suggestions, some things to look out for, stuff like that. I'll send that on the chat, or you search Amazon Prime on Slick Deals.
Yeah,
all right,
good.
Gene.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I'll be back on to watch you on
Stay
the net.
safe.
Take care.
Take care. All right. So we talked about one thing about North Carolina. The second thing about North Carolina, Protocol reports that Google plans to reduce the equity packages for Durham, North Carolina, Des Moines, Iowa, and Houston, Texas in January 2022, according to Alphabet Workers Union petition circulating that demands a reversion to pay and equity cuts. The Washington Post notes that to some employees, that means that their stock grants would be 25% lower than if they worked at other Google offices, like in Atlanta. With over 800 members in Alphabet Workers Union is a part of a larger effort to organize workers at tech companies. The Research Triangle area where Durham, North Carolina office is located was also moved from the national pay band to a discount pay band in late 2020, according to the Amazon Workers Union petition. The union said it would affect 300 workers there, but that Google plans to expand to 1,000 employees in the coming years. So it looks like they're saying, okay, if you're working Raleigh Durham in Durham, then you're gonna have less. I mean, we're gonna cut your what they call equity packages. That's that did not make sense to me. I mean, living in our area here is not cheap. And those guys, it's not like, yeah, now if you're moving from San Francisco to Durham, it may be. But I don't understand the reasoning behind it. And of course, they're not talking about it. Comments?
I mean, one of the complaints of the existing tech companies in Raleigh area, in the Triangle area, is that Apple coming to this area is going to if they and the prediction is that they are going to preserve their current level of salaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to push salaries upwards because Apple's average pay is a lot higher than other tech companies. I'm wondering. I don't know about Google. I don't think Google was ever in the higher salary rates compared to other techs. As far as I remember, they were very conservative with the salaries. They were very they were very large on benefits and work environments and stuff like that.
I guess that's what they call.
So I don't know.
That's what they call equity package. I don't know.
No. Equity is stock equity. Is the amount of stock you get as an
Okay.
employer on
As an employee.
the amount of access to stock that you get, etc. So I wonder why they're reducing. First of all, salaries in these areas are much lower than San Francisco, than San Jose. That's for sure. That probably is part of it. I don't know if it's coming from, I like where it's coming from, right?
Yeah.
It sounds strange because it sounds like they're hurting themselves, right? I don't know. I'm not a financial guy, so I can't even speak of choices like that. So
it just kind of surprised me.
I mean, I know it's zero effect on me. I was never looking to work in a place like Google. I don't want to work in such a large company. So I'm not the person looking. So I don't have a lot of answers. But compared to other people's that are looking, it's interesting. It also means that whoever's looking here in the area working for Google will not have the same prestige they thought as if working for them in San Jose. So I don't know.
Okay.
Interesting.
Next thing is hackers aligned with the government of Iran are exploiting the critical Log4j vulnerability to infect unpatched VMware users with ransomware. Security firm SentinelOne has dubbed the group Tunnel Vision. The name is meant to emphasize Tunnel Vision's heavy reliance on tunneling tools and the unique way it deploys them. In the past, they exploited so-called one-day vulnerability or zero-day vulnerability, one-day vulnerability, meaning vulnerabilities that have been recently patched to hack organizations that have yet to install the fix. Vulnerabilities in Fortinet, FortiOS, and Microsoft Exchange are two of the group's better-known targets. The SentinelOne research shows that the targeting continues and that this time the target is organizations running VMware Horizon, a desktop and app virtualization product that runs on Windows, macOS, and Linux. So they're apparently trying real hard to get into and hurt organizations that are running VMware Horizon. If you know anybody, or if you do at work or whatever, just I'm sure that there all kind of notices came out, but let your IT department know that you heard that.
Yeah, VMware Horizon. If I recall correctly, it's a virtual desktop environment, and IT departments are using that. And it is widespread. So
yeah,
they have.
And I guess it's unpatched, or they just companies that did not patch it yet.
Well, I'm as far as I know, we use. I think we use it in our.
Do you know if there are
system?
patches?
And I remember that a patch was issued.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, every few weeks there's patches going on.
Okay.
So I know that IT departments are dealing with that. I just don't know how widespread the unpatched environments are.
All right.
But this is something that would be used in larger organizations.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I hope that those organizations have their act together, and
I do too.
Not delayed. Yeah.
All right. Here's something that Nick, did you want to say something?
No.
Oh, here's something that Sarit sent this morning. I already had it here, but it's interesting. In a desperate bid to get his children offline, some guy in France apparently blitzed his entire town's internet connection by accident. That is, he now faces up to 6 months in prison for the outage.
Whoops.
Ooh.
A report from the outlet France Bleu says the unnamed dad tried to use a multi-wave band jammer to temporarily cut off the internet connection at his residence.
I love it.
Jammers, which are illegal in France and also in the US, work by interfering with telecommunication signals, thus stifling connections. Despite their illegality, people still get arrested for using them pretty much all the time. In this case, the dad in question deployed the device in the hopes of prying his social media addicted children away from the grips of their devices. When later questioned by the government official, the man apparently admitted that he only wanted to cut off the connectivity to his house at night between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. Probably so his kids would put the phones down and just go to bed already. Unfortunately for the padre, the jamming device was powerful enough to cut connectivity not just to his own residence, but unbeknownst to him, to those of many, many others in the surrounding area. His neighbors eventually started reporting their outages, after which the government was forced to investigate. So, here again, instead of teaching the kids, putting down the rules, being a parent, you go and say, "Oh yeah, I'll just jam it," and you get clobbered. It's interesting. I knew a few people that use jammers in my time, and it's no fun. I'm glad that there are more and more. I mean, less and less people are using them, and because more and more people know that it's illegal.
What I find interesting about this is you could easily on your router or modem set a time in which the traffic will stop.
Absolutely.
But that
there's
doesn't stop mobile phones.
Right. That's the problem. I thought about that.
I mean, true, but
there are softwares that you can install that do that inhibit the mobile phone as well. So
hey, what's wrong about going to each kid's room and say, "Give me the phone"? Give me the phone.
That's also possible, yeah.
The kids are not paying.
This is a case of bad parenting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bad parenting choice, not bad parenting. Bad parenting choice, right?
Absolutely.
I'm no way. I understand exactly where he's coming from. Don't get me wrong. The frustration of sometimes of not being able to communicate, right? With your kids and them not understanding it exists, and I feel for him, but yeah, he messed up royally.
Big time. Yep. All right. Roku, the leading supplier of smart TV OS in North America, is looking at possibility of building their own TV sets. That's coming from Next TV. According to Business Insider, Roku convened a focus group earlier this month in which participants were shown different models, feature sets, and names, sizes, price points of smart TVs, according to an individual familiar with the event. This unnamed person told the news site that the moderator made it clear that Roku is exploring the possibility of going it alone with its own manufacturing operation and not merely attaching its brand to an existing smart TV. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know why they would do that. It seems like it would be more lucrative for them to license out the technology like they're doing now.
Yeah, right.
Each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
But then again, Microsoft did it, right?
With what?
How?
They started creating their own hardware at one point.
Oh,
they were never
true.
really successful until Surface, right? But I don't even know if Surface is considered successful.
Oh, it absolutely is successful. Yeah.
Revenue wise, that's what I'm asking.
I would assume so. It's very, I mean, I shouldn't say it's widely used, but you will see Surfaces out in the wild.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you see a lot of things out in the wild. The real question is it successful for them as a company?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
They keep constantly updating and announcing new versions or new models. So unlike, the Zune or some other failed Microsoft product.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah. Interesting.
And Google did the same, right? At first they just did it with sub-licensing with the Nexus, but with the Pixel they are the manufacturers. With Nest, they are the manufacturers now. So,
yeah.
I mean, they all somehow end there. And I'm guessing they are very envious of the biggest hardware manufacturer that we know, and that's Apple, right? Apple, do not ever make the mistake, but Apple is not a software company. Apple is a hardware company. And that is one of the aspects. Apple does not sell its software to anyone. You can only run Apple software on Apple hardware, right? And I'm guessing that is what they're looking for, this exclusivity aspect. But will they succeed? I doubt it. I mean, it took a long time for Apple to actually succeed. So
yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. And talking about Roku, and I realized that we may be failing our audience, not letting him know that we are on the Roku channel, on the Roku device, not on the Roku channel. You can just, if you have a TV and you want to see us big, you can go to your Roku and look for. I don't remember if I had to install our app. We did.
Yeah, there's a channel store you have to install it.
Okay, yeah. So there is an app for Nissan Communications, and you can watch the show on your big screen TV. There's no chat. The chat is not included, so you can use the computer next to you, but you can see the big picture. But yeah, we are on the Roku.
There you go.
About the employment situation in the United States. Recruiters in tech are desperate for workers, but candidates are the ones who hold all the power. Recruiters working in technology these days do not receive candy, flowers, or thank yous. The recruiter is lucky if she can get someone on the phone, if she receives so much of an email in response. Technology workers need court no one. Along with microchips, toilet paper, and COVID tests, tech workers will be recalled as one of the great pressing shortages of this pandemic. Estimates of an unemployment rates for tech workers are about 1.7%, compared with roughly 4% in the general economy. For those with expertise in cybersecurity, it's more like 0.2%. Tech employees today tire of the attention from recruiters, the friendly hellos on LinkedIn, the cold calls. They think we're like used car salesmen. That's what the recruiters say, DBA. To be a recruiter in tech is to be an in-demand commodity for those companies doing the hiring, but to feel like something of a nuisance, like an essential gear that emits a loud, irritating noise.
I agree. I think they're useless. I'm sorry. I'm
But I
sorry
mean,
if you're
for
a
years
tech
and
recruiter
years,
and you're listening, but I'm sorry. You are useless in the process because you are not a tech person and you do not understand what is needed.
and but so how did they survive all these years?
There was just a surplus of workers.
Yeah, all right.
That's why. It's just there has been. I'm sure there are some great tech recruiters out there, right? And my guess that the good tech recruiters, they actually come from tech. They probably get a lot less than than the tech people they hire. So that's why you don't probably see tech people become tech recruiters. But the tech recruiters that I've seen, and I might be borrowing a hole for myself saying all of this, but and leaving this online. But tech recruiters have, in order for them to understand what type of person you need to look for, right? You need to understand what type of work they're going to do, and they have zero understanding of that. So they know how to look at. They're trained how to look at a resume, but past filtering the resume, they are completely useless.
Well, I mean, you probably want to say most of them.
Of course, most of them.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that job title as a general rule, right? It for a tech employer, one who's looking for new employees, they do not add value other than doing the initial filtering of uh, of the CV. But not only that, is they are missing critical parts of the CV because most of them will work like in a very robotic fashion of filtering, and most of that is handled today by the big automated databases, right? That do that already. So just to have a person that knows how to read the CV instead of a machine doing it, I'm sorry, not very valuable. And yes, this is a job title that should definitely not exist anymore, not with the automation that we have today, because they're not doing anything substantial past
Let
that.
me answer. Hey, Nick, you
What's up?
Didn't you get your tech job through a recruiter?
Yes. No, it wasn't a recruiter. It was through a it wasn't a recruiter. It was I guess it may have technically been considered a recruiting agency, but I reached out. They published the job posting and I applied. It was a hiring agency is probably a better word to use than a recruiter. A recruiter is typically somebody that is going out and looking for you and trying to hire you. They may even be headhunting you. You might not be even looking for a job. They see you on LinkedIn or somewhere and they headhunt you. I got my IT job through I guess a recruiting firm would be a better term.
And did you, when you in talking with them, did you feel like they were knowledgeable about tech? You remember?
No, not particularly. I mean, this was just a traditional hiring firm. But I will say this, based on my resume, I would have not gotten, and my boss even told me this, I would have not gotten the job had the individual that I interviewed with who worked for the hiring company, had he have given me such a good recommendation. Because my resume did not have anything that would have really made me eligible to have that job.
Nothing standing out.
Well, I just didn't have any experience working in IT. I mean, I went to school, then I did, radio here for a couple of years. They were looking for a technician, and I didn't have any I proved it to them once I started working there that I had the knowledge, but my resume didn't indicate it because I hadn't held that position. But I completely understand what Gal's saying. No question about it.
Okay. I mean, I just remembered you went through something like that. Oh.
Yep. It was a company that instead of them doing the hiring internally, they outsource it to a company that they pay to vet the candidates. And then obviously at the end of the day, the company still decides whether they do or don't want to hire you. I struggle.
There's another aspect. If they hire you, they pay them a substantial amount for the hiring. So.
Correct. And for the first 6 months that I worked at the company, I didn't get a check from the company I worked for. I got it from the recruiting agency because that's how they pay it out. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, where is it going to go? Nobody knows, but I understand what Gal is talking about.
I mean, it's not. Nobody's going to listen to me. It's going to continue. It's a useless job role. I mean, I am shooting myself in the foot here. If somebody,
I know
if a recruiter sees this video, but
fuck this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I know people that are jumping all over the country, going from one area to another, just because they are going through headhunters, recruiters, and they get something for 6 months or for a year, and then they go again because it's over, and they go somewhere else, and then they go again, and they go somewhere else. It's I don't know that it's a life.
Well, here's the thing, though. Headhunting and recruiting are not necessarily the same thing. Headhunting is when Gal has a lot of good employees at his company who are not looking for new work, but I know that they work there and I want them. So I go in and I not overpay, but I undercut whatever Gal is offering and offer them a better job. That's headhunting.
Oh.
Recruiting can also include some sort of headhunting, but recruiting, when I think of recruiting, I think more of, okay, you're actively looking or researching employment. Like, for example, the Cumulus essentially headhunted me. I wasn't looking for the job. They reached out to me. I was more than content with what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
They reached out to me. It wasn't necessarily headhunting, but they reached out to me directly. So yeah.
All right. Interesting.
I completely agree with Gal's take. No question about it.
See, Gal, you can't say nobody's listening to you.
Yeah, nobody in the recruiting
don't say that.
world.
Don't say that.
Yeah, that I agree with. Nobody in the recruiting world is listening. That's
no
right.
CEO will listen to me about this. Let's put it this way.
As both the Chrome and Firefox browsers approach their 100th versions, what should be a reason for the developers to celebrate could turn into a bit of a mess. It turns out that much like the Y2K bug, the triple-digit release numbers coded in the browser's user agents, the UAS, could cause issues with a small number of sites. Bleeping Computers report. Mozilla launched an experiment last year to see if version number 100 would affect sites. And it just released a blog post with the results. It did affect a small number of sites, some very big ones though, that couldn't parse a user agent string containing a 3-digit number. Notable ones still affected included HBO Go, Bethesda, and Yahoo, according to a tracking site. The bugs include browser not supported message, site rendering issues, parsing failures, and 403 errors, and so on.
I think Gene was just ahead of his time. That's all. He just foresaw the future.
uh,
Oh
that's
man,
interesting.
that is. I mean, it's hilarious to me. It's going to. I'm sure it'll be exactly as Y2K. A lot of noise,
And nothing.
quick fixing, and nothing happening.
Yeah.
I mean, even outage. We experienced some interesting outages, right, this past year. I mean, the Facebook
Yeah.
outage of
Yeah.
what was it, 5 hours, right? And people survived. So
I mean, I didn't. I almost died. Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's gonna be okay. That's what I'm gonna say.
Obviously, it's
Some
gonna be.
people
It's
are gonna
gonna be
sweat
okay.
it out for 5 minutes, and it's gonna be okay. It's
Yeah.
like there's nothing to report on, so let's we have this funny thing. I just wish that this. I'm not saying it's not important to report on. I'm saying don't make it sound scary. It's more funny than anything else, right? This is I mean, this is the Onion News 101. This is like something the Onion News would have produced when they had money.
Yeah.
So
All right. The next thing I want to talk about is Flex.
what's that? We don't know. We don't know that.
I had a very interesting experience with Flex this
Oh
past week.
Christ.
We realized that end of shows were cut off on recording.
When you say on the recording, and it shows that
on the
you're
recording,
off the
on the recording. So I said, okay,
And
I guess
how much in advance of the show was recorded?
none.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
and that's I mean, when I say none, I don't know. Because you see it coming on. And there may be, like maybe 30 seconds or something. But I figured this is because of the delay. And I'm talking about recording off the air.
Yeah.
So when it's 5:00, actually, by the time Flex sees it and translates it and all that, it's another 20 seconds maybe that went in. So it could be really bad the end of a show. And this is recording from Antenna TV, which they don't have commercials at the end of a show. The show goes all the way to the end of the half hour and begins with the next show, and then you have commercial.
Okay, yeah, they're not beating out the door for advertising.
Yeah.
So your commercial breaks are far and few in between.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I remember that Flex had in it an option to tell it that when you record either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 minutes after the end or before the start. I said, and 1 minute was really way too much, so I did away with it. But I said, okay, now this is really, I mean, it's driving Kathy crazy. So I said, nah, I'll go ahead and do it. So I went into Plex and went into a show that was supposed to be recorded. I think it was Bachelor Father. And clicked 1 minute after the end and saved it. And when I saved it, Plex went back to its home page. I had to click on Roku went back to its home page, and I had to click on Plex and go into live TV and DVR and go back to and it did not change. I tried it again. It did the exact same thing. It went back to its home page and had to go through the whole thing. I said, well, maybe it's because it's already being recorded. So I canceled the recording and went ahead and set it up again. And it took all the settings except the do it a minute after end. I said, okay, something is wrong here. Something is okay. I'm going to try and go online. So I went into the Plex TV app on the computer, and sure enough, it changed it, and it did it the right way. I went back into the computer, into the TV, and to look, and yep, it was there. It was 1 minute over. So I said, okay, I guess I just have to do it through the app on the computer.
Could
versus
be that the TV app isn't properly
Right.
updated to the API or something. Yeah. Okay.
something. But I said, okay. And then I also thought about it, and I said, now I know you know how to do it, Gal. How do you tell these people, why do you make it 1 minute? Why can't you do it by seconds and say, I want 25 seconds. I want 24 seconds. Why does it have to be 1 or 2? And who would want to record 10 minutes after the end of the show anyway?
Well,
no.
if you're recording a sports event, you very much might want to record 10 minutes after a show.
Oh,
depending on what.
Too.
Yeah, not everything. I mean, obviously, if you're recording a regular, program, 10 minutes is extreme. But if you're recording something with a flexible end time, 10 minutes typically is your number.
Or if you're recording in a region where the digital guide is more of a suggestion compared to the results of the broadcasting operations.
Okay.
And that happens in certain areas, maybe not in the States, but I can tell you back in Israel, I think that still happens from time to time.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would have loved to have like 30 seconds, because Kathy would watch it in the afternoon, and I watched it already in the morning, and I knew that it just missed maybe 10, 15 seconds. But sometimes
but
the
then
punch.
again, the cost, right?
Well,
isn't that big. So yeah, let's have it a complete minute. If it's always just a minute, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just about making sure you get something out of it, and not about fine tuning.
I was
5 minutes extra and stop it when it's done.
Right? I was also wondering what happens in the case of you have the same show half hour, like for the whole hour, but it's 2 shows. It ends at 30 and another one starts. So what happens when you start and it goes till 31, but it also wants to record the next one, which started at 10:30? So is it like 2 instances?
If it's on the same channel,
yeah,
then my guess, I really hope that they do not, they just copy over the stream, because the stream is already open, and they just open another file on the same stream instead of opening a new instance of the recorder.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I was just, this was and it's fine. So you go and now you watch it and it's the end, and you just click, okay, go to the next. It doesn't end. And it was an interesting situation to see that I had to go online to set it up, and it didn't do it on the TV. And I rebooted the TV, rebooted the server, rebooted everything. The Roku. Nope, it did not want to. It's like there is a bad command somewhere, because it actually took it completely out of Plex when I did that. It went to the Roku screen, and I had to click on Plex and sign in, kind of like.
Whenever it comes to Plex, any operation, any technical choices, use the web browser app, because that's where everything's updated. That's where it's current. The satellite apps, those that run their own code remotely, right, and then connect to the server, I mean, they might fall behind because of millions of reasons, and I never trust them. Not the Android one, not even they have a Windows one as well. I never use it. Always use on a computer, use the web browser. That's where you can manage the server properly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I learned that this way. And Nick, you're right.
Thanks.
Running the HD Home Run app is great when something hangs. I mean, I'm having a lot of hang up on with Plex that it just sits there and not doing anything, and you have to reboot the server. But you go to
I don't have mine with rebooting the server. My problem has been if you've got a channel that the strength is not great. Plex tries to
that's
buffer
true
it.
too.
And
That's
it creates,
true.
it doesn't create a problem, but you deal with it won't go digital. Like, for example, if you're watching over the air, right, and the TV freezes for, 2 seconds and it gets all blocky, Plex doesn't do that. It buffers it. If you use the HD Home Run app, there is no buffering. So it just freezes like it traditionally would and then comes right back.
Yeah.
Plex seems to have an issue with signals that are not consistent, where it will constantly freeze, buffer, play for 4 seconds, freeze, buffer, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, frankly.
Oh.
But
there was
it's not all the time.
There was something else that I couldn't understand, and Gal, maybe you or Nick, you. When I went and I scanned the HD Home Run, said, "Oh, there's now a 50.4 heroes and icons," and they have a lot of science fiction stuff that I like. So I went ahead and I went into Plex. It saw 50.4, but it didn't have the name of the station to associate with it. I think I talked about that. And if you put another name, that's the one that it's going to bring up. So you duplicate a channel. I said, okay. I guess I can see it. I can watch it on HD Home Run. I went to HD Home Run. It was there, but it wouldn't play anything. And it didn't say what it was, or there was nothing. It was like a blank channel. But yet in the bedroom, which is on the same antenna, not through the HD Home Run, but directly to the antenna, the station played just fine. I said, oh, well, something with the signal or whatever. But then last week, it started working on Plex. It works fine now.
It's probably a new channel, so it took time until
now Heroes and Icons is not a new channel, but it was added. Somebody got it here locally at Channel 5.
Well,
it is a new channel.
Area.
I remember watching that channel when we had Spectrum TV.
Yeah, but not over the air. It's probably new over the air.
Oh, okay, right? That's a good point.
So
it is new over the air.
Okay,
yeah.
So it was something with that signal. I figured it cannot translate it, or something was wrong. But now it's working. So you learn these things, and it's nice to see. Okay, yeah, they fixed it. It's working now. So Plex is chugging along, but it's very nice now that when I have those hangups with Plex, you don't have to wait 15 minutes to get back in. I just switch back, go to the HD Home Run, and let Kathy keep watching, and then I go and reboot the server, and later on.
Are you rebooting that server?
Well,
don't reboot that server.
Look, I'm not going to bother you during the day.
Then forget about bothering me. Then we'll make sure you have a command that just recycles Plex. You don't need to reboot the server.
All right. Well, yeah. But it's and HD Home Run is a very nice guide also. A lot more elaborate than the Plex stuff. It has more of a description. It I don't know how far it goes, but it's pretty nice. Or maybe it's just because it's bigger letters there that it seems like it has more. I don't know.
That could be. That definitely could be.
The guide that I pay for is a Plex guide, right? Or is it an HD home run guide?
No, you bought the lifetime
Yeah.
subscription from Plex, so you're getting it from Plex.
Okay, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
so
There's
Alright,
no
guys, I
way
gotta
of
run.
getting.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
Okay, bye, Nick.
Talk to you all later. Have a good week.
Talk to you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. What did you say? God.
On Plex, the only way of getting the guide is buying the subscription from them.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
with the HD home run app, there is. But I never tried it until Nick mentioned it. And yeah, I said, "Oh
But
no,
I think interesting on HD Home Run, it's free because I thought they have a subscription as well
no,
for
it's free.
the electronic guide.
No, it's free."
Interesting.
Let's put it this way: I did not pay for it. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously. So
Okay. Here's something that was from last week. Intel is entering the blockchain mining market with an upcoming GPU capable of mining Bitcoin. Intel insists
okay.
that the effort won't put a strain energy supplies or deprive consumers of chips. The goal is to create the most energy efficient blockchain mining equipment on the planet. We expect that our circuit innovations will deliver a blockchain accelerator that has over 1,000 times better performance per watt than mainstream GPUs for SHA-256. Intel General Manager of Graphics Raja Koduri said in an announcement. SHA-256 is referred to as the mining algorithm used to create Bitcoin. I thought SHA-256 was a security encryption.
Well,
thing.
it's an encoding.
Yeah,
right?
encoding.
SHA.
Yeah.
It's an encoding. So it might. I mean, it might has. I don't know enough about cryptocurrency to say yes or no, but if that is the
if you go into your
if that
security,
is the most expensive operation in the process, and then optimizing it, right, will give it.
Yep.
I'm cryptocurrency has several things in its process, right? There is one about mining,
Mhm.
and that is about identifying new blocks that can be used, and that's based on algorithms, some mathematical algorithms that are built to become more and more and more harder for hardware to solve. So that's one aspect. The other aspect are transactions, and those transactions they need to be validated, and so every operation, and it's validated in today. There's a buzzword in security speak. It's called zero trust. It
zero
means,
trust.
Yeah, zero
Okay.
trust. Zero trust is like, in order to work in a secure environment, you must always verify everything about everything you're doing, right? And that can be expensive, CPU cycles wise, right? So if there is, and I assume that's what they're optimizing, the hash checking of everything, which is the SHA-256 algorithm. then yeah, it might improve. It'll be interesting to see. If it's so efficient, I just hope they're going to price these chips very high, because those who are busy mining, they should get a slap on the wrist somehow. For cryptocurrency, while it's a great idea, it has a lot of problems, and one of the biggest problem, right, is energy efficiency. And so I just hope it'll shift the price there somehow, because if they're going out and making these cheap chips, um, I'm not sure it's going to help the environment in the long run. They say it's more energy efficient. That's great, but how do we, not create an influx of people just falling into this even more? So into the cycle of creating more demand and more demand and more demand. So
Well,
we'll see. Yeah. I doubt it's going to be the rocking announcement that they are staging it to be.
all right. John was saying, what is the best for viewing Plex? He said that he likes Roku. I told him, I mean, in the chat,
Roku
said,
is great. Roku
It's-
is great, but Roku as an ecosystem is limited, right? So Fire TV is pretty good.
yeah, I don't
I
like.
would say something a bit controversial. I think the best experience right now is Facebook's Portal TV.
What is it?
So Facebook, they have a product called Portal, which is basically a hardware station for Messenger, for Facebook and Messenger. Okay, they have it as a stationary solution, like 7-inch or 10-inch.
Yeah.
But they also have a solution called Portal TV, where you put a camera, hook it up to via HDMI to your TV, and you can use your TV for communicating over either Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. These are all basically they're sort of Android in the back end, just Facebook's own Android's solution specifically for the communication aspect. There are some apps, some entertainment apps, and recently, in probably 3-4 months, something like that, maybe more, they've introduced Plex there as well. It looks and acts almost identical to the one on Fire TV, but surprisingly, even though the hardware seems to a lot more contrived than the Fire TV box cube that I have, Fire TV cube that I have, it works a lot snappier. It works. It doesn't crash like it used to crash for me on the Fire TV. So, yeah, Facebook Portal. I know.
I'm still not
But-
following what you were saying. So how do you connect?
It's a hardware.
Yeah, but you were
hardware
saying-
device that Facebook sells for communication. It's basically a webcam for your TV that hooks up to Facebook, to your Facebook account. Or
So
your
I
WhatsApp
mean,
account.
no, but I mean, in general, do you hook your TV to that
What do you
box
do with a Fire
just like
TV?
you do with the Roku?
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't need to
It's-
use a webcam.
No, it is a webcam. It is itself a webcam.
Okay.
It looks like a webcam, just instead of a USB plug, it has an HDMI plug.
okay.
It doesn't connect to a computer. It's its own
Okay.
system,
Interesting.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But it has some apps on it. I think ESPN and stuff like that. Pandora. It has a lot of not a lot, I mean, a single page covers the entire app store they have, right? It's not like they have a huge amount of apps. But one of the apps that has been recently added is Plex, and it works very well on it compared to Fire TV. And I prefer it on the Roku one.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right. Did we mention? Did we talk in the past about the fact that MoviePass is coming back?
no, that is surprising.
Yeah, it says MoviePass, the defunct discount ticketing service, will return this summer without the firm that ran it into the ground.
Interesting.
Says co-founder Stacy Spikes. The company recently bought by Spikes after his unceremonious ouster from MoviePass in 2018 held its launch event today at the Walter Reed Theater, Lincoln Center in New York City. And he says that he began by wasting absolutely no time addressing the Helios and Matheson analytics shaped elephant in the room. The firm is now infamous for being the parent company of MoviePass that managed to blow the entire thing up shortly after the firm bought the startup, which became famous for offering unlimited movie tickets for a monthly fee. So MoviePass is coming back. How it's going to be structured as far as pricing, nobody mentioned.
I was a subscriber for a whole year. I used them for probably 6 months, like regularly. Made sure there were like 2 movies a month or something like that we will go. We had 3 cards because we're 3 in the family, and so me, my wife, and my son. This was a birthday present. I told them I want 3 movie passes for my birthday, so we'll go like every couple of weeks to a movie. It was fun. The best thing I think that MoviePass created was the AMC equivalent of, and there with AMC, it actually makes sense because they own the cinemas themselves, and so it does make sense to me that AMC can give such a pass, but an external company that sells you unlimited tickets to, regardless of the chain you're going to, seems like, while a great idea for me as a consumer, I don't see how they can survive, right? And they prove it by going bust once. I really hope this time they have a better plan. I'm rooting for them. I'm very skeptical, and I'm guessing anybody who's going to think about, even if they're going to offer a very, very sweet deal, right? I am going to be hesitant. So it'll be interesting following up on them.
Keep us posted. I know you keep up with it. I'm not going to keep up.
Maybe. I don't know if I will, but maybe.
And to end the show, I just want to mention again, and this is something we need to repeat. Here's another article that came last week. The pandemic has accelerated the usage of QR codes, taking them from niche status to an essential tool for businesses and marketers. Look no further than last Sunday's Super Bowl commercial of nothing but a floating QR code sending users to the website of Coinbase. The FBI issued an alert in January warning Americans that cyber criminals are tampering with QR codes to redirect victims to malicious sites that steal login and financial information. If you're scanning a physical code, make sure it hasn't been tampered with. For example, watch out for a sticker placed on top of the original code. There are some bad actors that would go and maybe in a restaurant or anywhere and put stickers. And I think they were saying someplace they did it actually to a magazine on a newsstand. Somebody actually manage to be standing there and stick a QR code in an ad in one of the national magazines, in the whole stack of them.
Yeah.
So if you are going to scan a QR code, run your finger on it, make sure that it's not a sticker stuck on top of the page.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse and worse.
I have. I mean, yes, be careful. I don't think it's a big deal.
Well,
It requires physical tampering.
access. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. If you're scanning something off of a website, if you're scanning something off of the TV, I would say don't. I mean, if you're at the computer, you don't need the QR code.
Right.
Unless the QR code is initiated by you, you were expecting that QR code and you need to do something with your mobile phone there, right? And you're sure, and that goes like any other browsing experience, and you're sure that you're at the right site. But come on, people.
There is no,
Don't be
I mean,
naive, that's all.
I'm not the QR code scanner. Is there a way, just like when you pointing your cursor and you put it on top of a link, to see where it's going or where it's going to go?
Absolutely.
With QR code.
When at least at Android, on an Android, I can tell you, because that's my experience. When you scan a QR code, whether with an app that does it or with the built-in camera or within the browser that has that support, the first thing that it shows you, it's the URL, and it's asking you, are you going to allow this or not?
Okay.
Right? So it's always, everything is set up for you to be using it intentionally. But if all day, if the only approach you have for a QR code is, I allow them because this is what I do, right? I mean, this is DirectX all over again. Remember, every site you would go back in the 90s, DirectX pop up and will ask you, do you want to install this software? And everybody will say yes, because it wouldn't work otherwise, right? So this is exactly this. Don't be naive. Check the DNS. Check it's always the same thing, but it doesn't change with the QR code. And on the physical aspect, I mean, yes, make sure it's not a sticker. But other than that, it's, I mean, if you are going to scan something, make it at least, be smart about it. That's all. It's not
like everything else. Yeah. Absolutely.
I doubt that grandma that doesn't like using the phone is going to scan it, right? So it is the younger generation that is probably, just keep them educated as we do with anything else.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to do it, to mention it again and again here. Let people.
So in your outro, right? When we recommend updating the virus scanner and all that, make sure you trust the certificate of the website and look at the URL.
Yeah, when I need
That's
to rewrite.
what we need to add.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guy. And it's this time of day. Anything else you wanted to add?
Nope. All done.
All right. So let's end the show. Thanks, Gal. And thanks, Nick. And fans, if you're listening, I hope you feel better. Rest. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Dana, Dina, Arlington, Micha, Eleanor, Sarid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner, trust the certificate, and when you go there, make sure you're going to the right place where you're going. God, am I doing all right? We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Now, remember, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is on Wilmington's 980 The Wave with his daily news show. You can tell your devices to play 980 The Wave. And he's also on 107.9 FM at the same time. You can always go and listen to the recordings of the show. And it's interesting shows, lots of interviews at nickcraig.com. And Tuesday, 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection Podcast show on Twitch. This is for survival games. So 7 p.m., just go to twitch.tv/Infection Podcast, one word, to watch that show. Other than that, we'll be back, like I said, next week. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.